Alistair, big test against the Crows, obviously, top side, but it was gave them a real shake in you.
Yeah, it was a good game of footy, wasn't it? Both sides had a crack. Obviously, they're top of the ladder for a reason. They're pretty polished outfit. They're really strong in and around the midfield with their contest. They're really dangerous forward of the ball with those three big fellas, and their defence has stood up amazingly well. Keane and Worrell in particular, all Australian players with the seasons that they've had. So they're a formidable opponent, and but there's probably what we're really proud of is there's probably three times in the game. Halfway through the second quarter they slipped away, and then halfway through the third quarter they slipped away and kicked the first two goals of the last quarter or thereabouts and slipped away again. And our boys just dug in. Not a hell of a lot to play for us this game except for pride really, and for us to really dig in and play the game out right to the end and only lose by a couple of goals. Continue to compete. Big X in the middle of the ground was just a monster in there. He was outstanding. He went to nearly 100 ruck contests for the day. Just real lion-hearted effort, and that just lifts. Our season sort of just got a little bit wobbly when he got pushed out of the side through suspension there, and we lost Larky and a couple others, and probably what's been our bit of a nemesis for the 3 years that I've been here. We just haven't been able to stabilise our back end, and we saw that again tonight. But over the course of the season, we've played about 20 players in our back 6 or 7. They're really good sides. They're never going to get through a whole season where they just have 6 or 7 players that play in their back end, but they're really good experienced sides, and the ones that are up near the top of the ladder, they have a stability with their side where there's only 9 or 10 players that roll through their back end. It's the most critical part of the ground in terms of being able to stop teams from scoring, and we just haven't had that continuity. Some of it's been injury, some of it's been form, and some of it's been method. But the bottom line is we haven't had stability there, and if we can get that part of our ground right, then we feel like we can challenge really significantly. We played the top of the ladder side today and ran them right to the wire. So that'd be really encouraging for our supporters. It's encouraging for us as coaches. We can see the progress that our boys are making. We won 3 games last year. We've won 5.5 this year, and we've got a lot of work to do. But a lot of the growth is going to come from within our footy club rather than searching outside. We need to make our list better where we possibly can through drafting, trading, free agency where possible. But the bottom line is we've made decisions to invest in our youth. We're the youngest list in the competition, and a lot of our boys just need opportunity, exposure at the top level. And if they're given that, you can see what the possibilities are. You look at what Trembath's been able to do. He was playing for Blackburn in the eastern suburbs earlier this year, and he's kicked 9 or 10 goals in 3 games of footy. So we drafted and took a punt last year in drafting a young kid in Whitlock, who we think is going to be a really good player for our footy club. But let's make the judgments on the decisions of these players at the end of their careers rather than at the start. But we're on the right track, and I'm sure that our fans would have been really encouraged, particularly the last 2 weeks. Really good victory last week against Richmond, and a really spirited effort this week against the top of the ladder side, but just didn't quite get there. Their polish, especially going across the arc inside their 50 compared to ours, was just a little bit better, and but it's something to work on for our side.
Talking about Cherry, how do you rate his All-Australian chances this year?
Oh, the 3-game suspension will probably knock him about, I'd imagine. But listen, his stats over the games that he's played, has been outstanding. He's just a real warrior, and O'Brien's had a pretty good season. Like he's played some really good footy for the Adelaide Footy Club this year, and there's been a really good ruckman for their club for best part of a decade. But but he lowered his colours today to Big X. He just played like a man possessed. LDU, in particularly the first half, but he was outstanding. Our midfield in the last couple of weeks have really played some tough, hard footy inside, and that's given us a chance to get the ball forward. And we've been able to win the inside 50 count the last 2 weeks, and get an advantage over the opposition in that space when that had been an area of the game for the whole of the season that we'd been below the radar on. And so pleased that the emphasis on contest and winning that contest, but Big X is critical to that. He was stellar today.
How do you feel your place going forward in terms of, you spoke briefly there about attracting players through free agency and trade? Do you feel like you're an attractive proposition for players to come to the club?
Well, games like today help, don't they? You're playing the top of the ladder of the side. Everyone, has acknowledged the improvement of Adelaide, and full credit to Adelaide. They've been through the hard yards like we're going through at the moment, and really respect what their club has done. Nixie's hung in there. There's some really strong, powerful clubs like the Adelaide Crows. Strong, powerful club for long period of time. West Coast Eagles, really strong, powerful club, but just because you're a really strong, powerful club, unless you can get access to the talent and really invest in the process and the method that you got to bring your football club back up the top of the ladder. Brisbane Lions, exactly the same thing. So I wish the Adelaide Crows all the best. A little bit like Brisbane last year. I was rapt that they won it because it just shows North Melbourne and all our supporters that it can be done. Adelaide Crows jumping from 15th to get on top of the ladder shows it can be done. And we ran that side right to the wire today to show our boys that the Crows had 2 or 3 of their most important players out of the side today as well. But we feel like with Larkey and McDonald and Zerha and these sorts of guys back in our team will be stronger next year. But we're going to try and improve our list where we can with whatever acquisitions we can make. But most of our improvement's going to come from the boys that are already listed to our footy club.
You've probably got some decisions to make next year with that. Like you're speaking about Trembath, you've got some exciting forwards to work with.
Yeah, well, his emergence has just been amazing. Really, he's a great kid. He works so hard. He's disappointed he didn't get drafted initially, and it's just so hard for so many boys. I think somewhere in the vicinity of 2,000 nominate for the draft each year, and only about 70 or 80 get picked up. And I wish it was the old system in a way where if you didn't get picked up, you're still supported by the club that you still played with, and that happens in the Sandful and the Waffle to their credit of the way their competitions are structured up. But the way things are structured up here in Victoria is that once you finish your under 18s, it's just like, unless you get drafted, go and find your own pathway from there. So it's really tough, and he was one of those boys, and just trying to navigate his path and find his way through. And we're just so pleased that he's been able to find a pathway to our footy club, and just see that there's so many young boys out there that all they need is an opportunity. I reckon he's a great story for a lot of kids out there who are just wondering, gee, am I ever going to get my chance? Some of them just aren't physically ready at 18 or 19 years of age, and that was the reason probably he didn't get drafted. But he dug in, did the work, and his evolution, how he's evolved over the last 12 months has been extraordinary, really. And we're just hoping he's only scratching the surface for what he's capable of doing at AFL level. He's a big, powerful boy. He's only 19 or 20 years of age, so I think our fans will be pretty excited. We've been searching for a forward that can support Larky, and he hasn't played a game with him yet. And in actual fact, only came into the side because Larks went out. So it's really exciting. Those two, we have a whole summer of being able to play together and train together, and hopefully there's a lot of footy between the two of them over the next few years.
And then I guess at the other end of the spectrum, Luke Parker and Jack Darling, they've come in. They've probably been underrated outside the falls, but just what they've done for probably younger guys on the field, off the field. Can you just speak to their impact on your group?
Yeah, well, they've been fantastic for our group, and Caleb Daniel as well coming in. We targeted that for a specific reason, and that's why I spoke about during the week about how difficult it is to rebuild your footy club now. And at the time that the club made decisions, perhaps 6-7 years ago to invest in the draft and have a mass exodus of players so that we could invest in the draft. The landscape was a little bit different, and but there's just so much compromise to the purity of the draft nowadays that to go through a total rebuild is really, really difficult. Richmond are trying to fast track it. They had to lose two great stalwarts of their footy club last year to give them so many draft picks. So they're trying to fast track it, but it comes at a cost. You got to lose something to get that opportunity. So it's a really, really difficult path forward, as tough as it has ever been in the game. Clubs and supporters and media and everyone involved in the game get really, really impatient that you think it could be done a hell of a lot quicker. All I know is that it's like the duck. It just looks like nothing too much is happening on the top, but we're paddling like all buggery underneath. A lot of hard work's been done, and we feel like we're on the right path. But we hope that we can start climbing the ladder a bit more next year.
Where's your flag tip?
Geez, it's as open a season as I can't even tell you who's going to finish in what position in the eight. Because teams could either finish in the top four or finish in the bottom part of the eight. So really, really, really tough. A team that's not even in the eight at the present time, in the Gold Coast Suns, their best footy's capable of winning it. So I couldn't even tell you who's going to miss the eight, let alone who's going to win it. But really, really exciting final series, and full credit to the sides that have got there. They've played good, consistent footy, strong method, and we'll sit back with envy and watch them play, and know full well that there's a lot of hard work for our boys ahead. But the goal really is to be playing in September, the best month of the year to be playing footy, and there's 9 clubs that are still in the hunt for that, and we're in envy of what they've been able to achieve. Thanks, guys. Cheers.